Hey traders, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking a look here at Bitcoin, kind of seeing what's going on here with the big boy. I've got some charts pulled up, of course. We've also got some high block capital data we want to take a look at here as well. Just kind of get perspective on really what's going on here, right? So if you're new to the channel, just know, not a financial advisor, love to teach people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. Been trading for a very long time. So what we want to do is take a look at, well, this here first, because I sent this out as a tweet on my Twitter last night, should we call it like a, Dogecoin, Dogebird? I'm not sure. Whatever. What we're looking at here is some pretty straightforward stuff. Okay. In other words, we've been range bound for some time. Lowest wick here is right around the 26.5 mark. Upper wicks close to about 28,800, or just say 29,000 is a rough estimate. We wicked what 29.2 I think was the best case, but 5 days in the last 2 weeks we've seen the price action touch this 28,800 mark. If we can close above that level and maintain that price for a short time, there's a great chance we'll see the price continue higher for somewhere in the range of 10 to 25%. If the price breaks below this level here, we've got a tentative support right there about 27,000. Just say a closure of 27,500 or 27,000 or 26,500, then we will definitely likely see the price action come down here and continue potentially lower. I do think 25.3 is a pretty solid support level based on a previous resistance, but once again, we will see if we get there, all right? That's kind of where we're at there. So that's what this chart looks like here, just so you understand kind of a little bit more about what that looks like. And if you want to kind of follow, I have consistent daily Bitcoin updates on Twitter as well as other social media. We actually create a TikTok here as well. I'm going to try to start bringing some more important stuff to your, right to your doorstep, so to speak, or to your phone, whatever you want to call it. Just make things a little bit more user-friendly and easy to access, okay? So again, check that out in your own time, of course. Links down below. There's all that information there. So when it comes to Bitcoin, let's talk a little bit about the back-end stuff first, and then kind of get back kind of like into the charts, if you will. Because when we kind of look at the basic data here, we can see, again, range-bound activity, high amount of volume profile here at about 28,000. We've got pretty much equal amount of shorts versus longs here as far as liquidations are concerned. Open interest is still down. The amount of shorts is higher than the amount of longs. Whether or not they've been liquidated is irrelevant. They're essentially stacking. Okay, so as you see this continue to get larger, more and more of a resistance usually will occur, or you'll start to see short squeezes. There's different things that can happen, but the more shorts we have, it gives us more inclination as to where the direction should go. More people are leaning more towards the price coming down than up. Is that going to happen? Hard to say. There could be a really strong amount of volume that comes through, which, by the way, volume is somewhat down right now, and that could cause those shorts to get liquidated. But I'm personally more so leaning more towards the price coming down a little further before it comes back up, but it has to choose a side here soon. It's been fairly range-bound for some time, and it's unusual for Bitcoin to stay range-bound for this long. Yes, we've seen 1 or 2 month stints before, but that's when there was a complete fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Right now, we actually have really good, the fear is low, and the actual greed index is higher, if you will, right? Okay, so enough about that. What we want to look at here, this is last basically 7 days here. Last 7 days of trading, we can see that there was, of course, that wick down to 27,000. We got some liquidation there, but a lot more liquidations occurring at the 28,900 mark. And again, these are liquidations. These are also closed positions too that were never truly liquidated. So, with there being a larger accumulation at that level, that leads us to believe here that the price action is probably going to have a solid resistance there, and it's going to be more difficult to pass that level than drop down below 27. Again, just something that I kind of see there. We can see there's been a little bit more longs liquidated in the last few hours here than shorts. We can also see, of course, as well, that open interest here is accumulating right at 28,000 even. Okay, so there's more interest in the price action right now. If we take a look at the longs, we can go ahead and see here as well that the longs are in the green, which is good for the longs, of course. They're up by a small margin. If we take a look at the shorts, it'd probably be the inverse as well, where they're kind of down. Okay, so shorts, I wouldn't say they're getting hammered right now, but they are definitely in a position where they're more so in the red than the longs. Okay, so again, that will happen based on what we've seen here so far. That being said, yesterday was a doji candle. I kind of warned of this here, or just kind of highlighted the fact that anytime you have a doji candle, the direction can typically change. Now, it did change to an extent. It came down here to right around 27,700 and essentially bounced back here so far. But that being said, a daily candle closure like that does signal reversal. You can see here, reversal here, reversal here, reversal, and then of course reversal. So again, they're not super impactful. It's not like it's the sky is falling, the price is dropping. but it absolutely could be the beginning of this transition downwards. Okay, so again, just something to kind of think about or to acknowledge. As far as Fibonacci retracement levels, we're kind of trending right here at the 0.382 mark, depending on the direction you're heading. That's a pretty common area of resistance, so not surprised to see the price action hold there. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other standard stuff here too. We can see a money flow index. Again, volume is coming out of the market, and in turn, it's difficult to maintain a certain price point with low volume. Okay, so again, money is flowing out of the market. We're starting to see that, and that is essentially reflected here, where the RSI is unchanged, but we do still have a MACD divergence. Okay, so I feel like we could very well see the price action continue lower. It just makes a lot more sense based on what we're seeing here so far. Let's take a quick peek at the monthly here, just kind of get perspective here as well, because there are some moving averages we want to be aware of. Got the 20-day SMA coming down on the monthly, but we're above the 50. So we're still in a positive place. Just keep that in mind. We're not in a bad situation. We're trending just above 50 on the RSI too, which is positive. That does imply that further upside could be likely. But once again, you want to break above or below 50 on the RSI when we're kind of stuck right there. Doesn't help us too much. But we do want to acknowledge here that we are starting to lose momentum here to the downside on the monthly. So keep in mind, even if we're expecting Bitcoin to come down here in the near future, that 25,300 mark should be the likely catalyst, or more importantly, likely bouncing point for us. I don't think we're going to see a tremendously lower price point at this point, just because we do have a large amount of volume that has come into the market. Even though volume's down the last couple of days, the overall sense of things the last month is absolutely, more so bullish than bearish. Okay, so try not to get that twisted. But once again, here we can see at this 25,000, almost exactly 25.5, we got the 200-day SMA on the weekly. So really positive stuff here. Again, you got to keep in mind too that we are kind of maxing out a little bit on the RSI on the weekly, so a pullback would make perfect sense. Okay, so again, fairly good stuff there. I would just say that the daily doesn't seem phenomenal at this point. It does seem like we should see a slight decrease in value here in the relative near future, but that should be followed by the next leg up. That's my expectation. I would say that with price coming down to the 25.3 range and then working its way back up would make sense based on this natural flow that you have. You have to have ebbs and flows in trading. You can't just go up and over all the time, right? It's not healthy to do that. So again, I think a pullback would actually be helpful in a strange way. Just keep in mind, if you're trading altcoins, they are very dangerous to trade right now. I'm recommending my community kind of pumps the brakes a little bit there, because even though there's tons of opportunity, there's a lot of uncertainty too, because they are jumping up and jumping down on a whim, and their knee-jerk reactions to Bitcoin, slight corrections. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so 4 hour, let's go and wrap this up here. We can see we're trending close to 50 on the RSI. I've mentioned that before. Kind of not really giving us any tells. We're getting slight convergences and divergences, but they're not super strong. So while we are converging right now and the price could come up a little bit further, it's not like it's a massive continuation. What I think is important to acknowledge is the fact that we do have higher highs here. That's a positive, but once again, we got some parallel highs too. Oh, and I misspoke there. They're higher lows essentially here, and then parallel highs. So with that said, oftentimes you could kind of speculate that this is working itself into a wedge pattern, and if it continues to work itself up like this, then it's inevitable for it to break to the upside. We're just a little too early and too premature to see that, so I wouldn't kind of just jump right in and expect a long position to be viable at this point. There's not a lot of reasons, I think, at least on the hourly yesterday that we saw, for the price action to continue down. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at the hourly here, we can see we're making lower highs still consistently to this point. Okay. While they're not profound and massive, they are definitely coming lower. For the most part, we're seeing lower lows and lower highs. It's not perfect, of course, but there's somewhat of a pattern there. Okay, and to me, those kind of patterns are probably the most successful in trend. Understanding what trend you're in. And that's where, I have like a CC Gold indicator, for example. It is available on our site. And what it does, it allows for you to kind of get confirmation for long positions. We can take a peek at this here on the 15-minute if you want, because it really just kind of gives you perspective. Hey, there's not a lot of entries here, right? We see one right here, and there's none so far here. So it really tells us we don't have confirmation. We're not on the right side of the tracks. And that being said, it's best to wait for confirmation. So again, more so bearish qualities on majority of these time frames. While you could argue that we have, some higher lows on the 4 hour, it's still not super strong, and I'm not convinced, because this hourly here is telling us it still wants to go down. All right, so again, just some things to kind of think about. Hopefully this makes sense and helps you out there. Obviously, again, if we do take a look really quick here at the cloud at the very end here, you can see that there's really not a lot here. We are working within the cloud, so obviously not a good place to take a position. And conversion lines here, everything's kind of just coming to a head. So it's really telling us there's no reason to take a trade right now. Even though we are range bound, it's not super reliable. It's still saying that we're on the wrong side of the tracks. Okay, so I'm still speculating more bearish activity here for Bitcoin in the near future. And I'm leaning a little bit more towards a short as well, as I mentioned in my tweet yesterday, because I do feel like further downside would make more sense right now. It may not be significant, it may not be dramatic, but it should come down a little bit further.